Welcome back to Real Talk. To change the world, we have to educate our youth. Every young man carries patterns from the people they grow up around, and the men they look up to instill certain ways of living that they take as the way of living. This can create a circle of abusive behavior for generations. The Young Men Movement's mission is to grow future generations of young men to change the perception of the world on what it means to be a man. With me in studio is Kabelo, Chabalala, and MT Tabane, the founders of the Young Men Movement. We welcome them and we're about to cross-examine them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, Kabelo.
Yes.
That's correct.
Aye, Master Chief. So you say you were saved by a stranger,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I want to hear a little bit about this.
So what happened is that my dad used to be a taxi cab driver. And then one day, as the work was not good, and then as he was heading to home, and then some guy came and then he was like, please, man, I need a lift. I got robbed and whatnot. And then my dad was like, but do you have money? No, I don't have money. I got robbed. And so my dad helped him. So it was just pure kindness. So he helped him. So the guy asked him, it's like, do you have a son or daughter or anyone? It's like, no, I do have a son. He's in grade 10 now. It's like, yo, by the way, I'm running like a program in University of Pretoria. Just ask your son to come through. And then we'll take it from there. So as a result, I'm a computer scientist today.
No, man.
Yes.
Oh, my word. That
Exactly
is the
that, yeah.
sweetest story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, Kabelo, what made you guys start this movement?
Anele, I have an absent father. And when I was 16, I used to have challenges of who to look up to, what kind of a man do I want to become. You look at the uncles and you pick up this and that. You look at the guy next door, you pick this and that. And I got to university in 2010 in Soshanguve at TUT. And I looked back at home and I realized that it was the strong character that kept me going throughout that journey. And then I looked back at home and I realized that, yes, when I was younger, 9, 10, I thought that this thing of just being a fatherless somebody was a shock. So from the misfortunes of being fatherless, I realized the fortune of having to go back to my village and identify those young men that need mentors, that need somebody to look up to. And because, I mean, there's a 4-year difference between Tshepo and I. So he's been my mentor over the years, and I realized that we come from a village that needs more mentors. And I put down a plan of YMM. 2 years back, I sent it to him in January, and I said, we need to go back home and ensure that we create a new generation of young men of treasure. And that's how it started. And he said, but what are we going to do? I said, well, we have little brothers ourselves. So let's start with them. From 4 boys at the garage at home, Kopan Kopo, we moved to having 20, from 20 to 40, from 40 to 60. And today it is that movement from Pankopo to Nokaneng that encompasses young men from different villages that have found their purpose, that also help us find ourselves in the process. So that's how the Young Men Movement was started, to ensure that.
So why is it important that you're dealing with young boys and young men as opposed to having older men come through as well?
I believe that, you must strike the iron while still hot. That's number one. And number two, I've realized that, every child is one caring adult away from being a success story. And another thing, again, one child is, again, one bad decision away from being a statistic.
Wait, now you speak like that and then you move on and then you don't realize that you've just made such an important statement.
Yes.
So when things like that happen on this here show, I make you repeat it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so every child is a caring adult away from being a success story.
Yes, and again, every child is one bad decision away from being a statistic.
Bad statistic.
Yeah. So then that is the ethos of Young Men Movement, because we realize that these kids, they have their own internal dialogues. There are conversations that they have with themselves, but the problem is that they have these conversations in a silo. Conversations that challenges their identity, who they are. Am I too fat to be successful? Am I too tall to be successful? Am I too dark to be cool? So then, but if they don't have adults who are caring enough to actually make sure those conversations take place in an ecosystem that makes it okay for those conversations to take place, then chances are that those kids might be statistics.
So now, because earlier we were speaking to Iris and Master Chaba, and they made such a good point about speaking out. What I find with young boys who grew up in fatherless environments is the speaking out part, right? And the first person you need to speak out to is the mother.
The mother, yes.
Because you don't want to speak out, because when you speak out, it's like you're saying she didn't do a good enough job. So you have this mom who's trying to be a mom and a dad at the same time. So also she's hurting, right? So now you're 16 and you don't want to talk to your father. You want to talk to your mother and say, I am lost because I don't have a father. And if you're looking for your father, it's almost like a spit in her face. Are these the conversations that you're having with the boys?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, Anele, what you just said now, a father is not necessarily the biological person that gave birth to you.
Yeah.
During my journey, when I was in high school, I remember Mr. Sifik and Mr. Matibe, and the teachers and the principals that were there. The great thing is that you have a clean slate to start on. And what do I mean by that is that I had to just pick up what were good attributes from them, because I don't sleep in the same house with them. I don't see them every day. So I looked at it and I realized that it's not actually the worst thing to happen to an individual, but the men that you meet, the teachers, the pastor, you know, the soccer coach, you look at him, you only take the good attributes from them to build the man that you want to become. And that helped. That's why I'm saying, yes, at home, mom would want to sit. I remember my mom used to joke about that, saying that, on Father's Day, what have you bought me? I'm like, but you're not my father. So,
Yo, this debate happens every year.
Yes,
right?
and yeah, so we got to a point where I'm like, Mom, you do such a phenomenal job as a mother. But those struggles of the conversations of the growth, you know, physically you grow, emotionally you grow, you start dating, things happen to you and you're thinking, where's that father figure? Where's that male person that I can actually redirect all these conversations to? So those conversations, I was redirecting them to those teachers, those pastors, and they helped me groom. But like I said, the best thing is that it was not one person who's coming down on me, showing me only one side of what a man is supposed to be. I could pick from a plethora of them. Yeah, that's how it helped.
All right, so how does a person join this movement? It's the young men movement, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
How does one join, Michael?
So because of demographics, it might be difficult for those who are far from where we are. So the headquarters of Young Men movement is Pangop. Pangop is a beautiful village that is situated in the northern tip side of Pretoria.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful village. So then, so for those who are closer, so all they do, they have to follow us on Twitter, and then they can send us their requests. On Facebook, they can follow us there as well. So our website still on a pipeline, and then they can actually communicate with us via those platforms to be part of the movement.
Okay, so in the absence of their presence, them being able to go to
Pankop, yes, yeah.
Pankop. In the absence of them being able to go to Pankop, I mean, surely you guys need something like
Definitely.
chairs or a tent or whatever. You know, what are the things that you need? Because obviously the conversations are the most important thing.
That's correct.
The presence of the mentors is then the second most important thing.
Yes.
But then you need to make this mission
correct.
work.
2 weeks back, I had a conversation on virginity and boys. The other week, I had another one on homosexuality, you know, and how the boys